I'm Sally, this is Farrell, and we are bored of it. And today we're going to be reviewing Mariposas, which is a follow-up game from Wingspan designer Elizabeth Hargrave. Now, don't expect the two to be similar because whilst they're both about flying things, the mechanics are totally different.
You're going to start with one monarch butterfly in Mexico, which you'll soon breed into more monarchs. And then, like some terrible supervillain, you're going to command them to swarm North American cities and sit back while you reap the rewards of flowers and victory points. Now, the game's for between 2 to 5 players, and it's extremely family friendly. It's a game that you can teach anyone, regardless of their level, very quickly. And actually, ironically, it produces way more analysis paralysis than the average board game.
Now, before we briefly talk about how to play, let's take a look at some butterflies on their migration path.
So you begin with one Generation 1 butterfly down in Mexico, and on your turn, all you do is you play a movement card from the 2 that you have in your hand, and these just show you how the butterflies move. So, for example, this one would let you land 3 times. Each hex means a landing, and you could do this with one butterfly 3 times, or you can move 3 butterflies once, whereas this card would only let you move one butterfly 5 spaces and land once. When you land, you gain the flower or the space you land on. And if you land on a city, you will roll the dice, and this will show you what flower you're going to get. And then you'll flip the city. And then this will show you which bonus card it corresponds to. And these bonus cards are worth 1 victory point at the end of the game. And if you complete a full set, you're also eligible for these bonuses, such as having an extra turn or getting victory points at the end of the game. Now, only the first player gets to roll the dice. Future players that land on cities will only get the bonus cards. And when you have these flowers, what you do with them is you spend them to breed your butterflies. So you see these milkweed symbols here, and if you land adjacent to one, you can breed a butterfly by spending flowers. And because the butterflies are generational, they follow a certain pattern. So Generation 1 butterfly will only breed a Generation 2, and Generation 2 will breed into a Generation 3, and so on. Now, like most games, the point of the game is to get the most victory points. And it would be fair to say the main way to do this would be to get as many Generation 4 butterflies back to Mexico as possible by the end of fall. Now, the game is split into seasons or rounds, and you have spring, summer and fall, and each season will have one more turn than the previous season. And each season also has a bonus card, which provides you alternate ways to gain victory points. And these usually push you upwards across North America, and they provide somewhat of an alternative to just gain victory points by getting as many level 4 butterflies as you can back to Mexico.
Mariposas is a game that after your first or second play, you might just be like, wait, is this it? All I can do is move butterflies around the map. But the more we played it, the more it grew on us. Despite the fact that all you can do is play a movement card, move your monarchs those spaces, the amount of choice of which butterflies to use and which spaces to move to can cripple you with analysis paralysis at times. Should I use this movement card, pick up 3 flowers, setting me up to gain more monarchs, or should I move 5 spaces, getting me into position to score the season's objective card? And if I play this card, should I move 1 butterfly 3 spaces, or 3 butterflies 1 space?
There's a surprising amount of strategy here, because although the obvious choice would appear to be that you hang around the south, get Generation 4 butterflies out, and then just keep feeding them across the line, if you don't get any victory points from these season cards, likely you won't have enough victory points to win overall. And this creates this risk reward where these seasonal cards push you further north each season in the chase of victory points, but then they leave you in a precarious position at the end of the game in fall where you then only have the final 6 turns to move all of your butterflies back down south and hope you can get enough across the line.
One interesting aspect to this is that you can create a double level 4 butterfly by breeding a level 4, meaning you'll get way more points but just moving 1 token. And this is great for those desperate scrambles at the end and is another aspect to think about.
Overall, between getting generation 4 butterflies across the line, between the seasonal objectives and between the victory points you can pick up from the city cards, Mariposas provides a lot of dilemma and choice on how to play and what you should do from a game with an exceedingly simple mechanic.
One thing to note regarding the city cards is that they become much more of a strategy at a higher player count. You'll have more players flipping more cities, so you'll be able to see which cards are located where and actively try and complete a suit. But in a 2-player game, you'll be lucky if you even flip half the cities, so it's just pure luck whether you can complete the suit or not.
Besides that, the game plays exactly the same at any player count, and this is because there is 0 player-to-player interaction. Any number of monarchs can share a space, and no players can either help or harm another player. You don't interact. And this makes it great for couples or low player counts, people that usually play 2-player, or for people who don't like games where they can be dicked on by other players.
This is a surprisingly tight game. Because there aren't that many ways to score victory points, the end scoring usually just comes down to 1 or 2 points difference between the players. This can be a bit of a negative because if one player doesn't manage to score the first season's objective, but the other players do, they're pretty much already out of contention, and their only viable strategy of winning becomes to just hang around the bottom of the map the entire game, produce level 4 butterflies and get them back to Mexico in the fall. Now, it's not that much fun to be forced into a singular strategy that early on in the game.
Now, there's actually only a short list of negatives we have about Mariposas, because on the whole, we actually really enjoy it for what it is. One would be the price point. I personally think that it's slightly overpriced for what it is in terms of the gameplay and the components, although the wooden butterfly tokens are very nicely done. Second is something we just mentioned, that players can be left behind if they don't score objectives early on. And it's kind of at odds with how friendly and welcoming this game is, to have a system where through no real fault of their own, players can just be left behind very early on. And finally, it's just the total lack of player-player interaction. And some people are definitely going to be put off by that. And I think that this is a game where it doesn't play any differently than with people than if you played yourself and just tried to beat your own score. Because, besides having a social aspect and challenge people while you play, the game's going to play out exactly the same. In summary, this is a short, pleasant, simple, yet surprisingly strategic game about migrating monarchs. It's simple enough to teach your mother, which I actually did this last weekend, while having enough decision making to leave experienced board gamers scratching their heads with analysis paralysis.
If you can accept it on face value and not go in demanding too much, it's a great game to add to your collection. It's really grown on us, and we are often getting it out to play for the fun of it and not just to review for the channel. It's maybe not a must own, but we're certainly very happy to have it in our collection. If you enjoyed this video, we'd really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to our channel for regular board game reviews and content. Always with Doggos.
Doggos.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.